Beautiful weather here in Ann Arbor, and boy, what a beautiful spring this has been. Just to sort of think about what kind of a show we have today. I love this sort of a show because we're going to be talking about the contemporary performing arts again, and we're going to be going to one of our favorite places, the Purple Rose Theater Company. Everybody, we are going to be spotlighting the Purple Rose Theater Company's 35th anniversary and season finale with its wonderful production of Emma's Weddings. And now the S on weddings, that's, in its little brackets there. So you might read it Emma's Wedding, but actually that's not quite it. We are going to be celebrating it with two of its leading actors, Zach Fischer and Saurabh Kamu, who will appear separately in the two segments. Emma's Weddings will celebrate its world premiere at the Purple Rose, running from June 25th through August 30th, 2026. Written by the acclaimed playwright Carrie Krim and directed by Purple Rose resident artist Kate Thompson-Savina. It tells the story of, what happens. A group of longtime friends, they convene, they celebrate. And you know what? I am not going to go any farther with this. I think it's best to hear it from our guests. Without further ado, Zach Fischer, welcome to Speaking of Art.
Hi, good afternoon, Ed. Happy 80 degrees to you.
Oh my God, Zach, it's great to talk with you.
Finally.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And for an actor getting ready for an upcoming production to be talking with us on a Saturday is a big thing. So I want to thank you very much for reserving the time.
It's my pleasure. We're so excited, and I loved the opportunity to talk about the show. So happy to be with you.
Oh well, I'm delighted, and this is what I love to be able to have these discussions because there are so many in the audience of all ages, and of course young people too, who think about what kind of an influence can the performing arts, can creativity, individual creativity, really have today with everything that's going on. And I love to celebrate the Purple Rose because it is the definition of the ensemble. Ensemble acting, the ensemble environment, the mood, the experience, people happy when they're coming in. You look at them leaving, they've got the same faces, maybe even heightened. The Purple Rose is a very special place, and it brings out, I think, the very best in its actors. And I just wanted to lead in with that. And what is it like, Zach, coming back to the Purple Rose? You've had a long experience with them. I love the fact that you were in New York for 14 years before you came back to Michigan. And I have other creative friends, singers, by the way, one in particular, who started off in New York, and he was there for a number of years. And it's like, you would think that that's the pinnacle. But coming back to Michigan, there was some kind of a consolidation that went through with all his, creative influences. It just gelled here. And I'm wondering, did you have a similar experience to that? Before we get right into the play, could you just talk about your own journey a little bit going up to this point?
Sure, of course. Yeah, so I'm originally born and raised in San Diego.
Great city.
And I was a New York City actor for 14 years. Jeff Daniels was one of the people that made me want to be an actor. And as we say in the business, he was one of my guys. One of the people that lights the fire under you.
Mentor sounds it sounds a little bit too venerable, doesn't it? I like that, the guys. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the people that inspired me and showed me the way. So, I went to New York and was a regional theater actor, working mostly in classical theater. I did some musicals, but was basically an itinerant actor, jobbing all over the country at whatever theater would pay me. Did some TV work and all the New York shows, from Law and Order to Gossip Girl.
I have it all right here. Yeah, you were even on As the World Turns, my great aunt's
As the World Turns.
favorite.
Yeah, I got to New York just at the end of soap operas, which was a really special thing. Now that I look back on it, that is a bygone era, and I was lucky enough to be on one of the last seasons of a soap opera in New York City. Yeah, and so then I, after many years being a itinerant actor, I'd always wanted to teach. I come from a long line of teachers, and that was sort of my eventual goal, and ended up being hired at Albion College to help reboot the theater program there. And on my final fly-out interview, they booked me a car at DTW and said, "You got to get yourself to Albion." And so I checked out my rental car, and the only thing I knew about the region, I'd actually never been to Michigan before, was that this was where Jeff Daniels had built this theater company that was legendary. And so before I actually arrived at Albion College, where I've now been a professor of acting and directing for 10 years, I pulled off the interstate and drove into Chelsea because I wanted to see the Purple Rose, and I still have a photo of myself, a selfie that I took in front of the Purple Rose Theater, making this pilgrimage because I had to see this legendary theater company where they were doing New York caliber work in Chelsea, Michigan.
Absolutely.
And then went out to Albion and did my final interview. And I always thought, oh, this would be a nice place to settle down if I actually were to get this job, and I wonder if I could ever work here. And so it's very surreal to be talking to you today, promoting a show at the Purple Rose when this has sort of been a long-term fantasy of mine.
Now that is a legacy. That is legacy. And by the way, I just want to add also that you are the chair of the theater department at Albion College.
For better or worse, it's all my fault.
No.
It's wonderful. Yeah, we're so proud, and we've built a really wonderful program, and I have amazing colleagues, and as we always say, we have our own sandbox, and we're very grateful to the administration there that they let us make art and teach artists. So we're really fortunate.
That's wonderful. You know, you said, and I love the way you preface that. You say I come from a long line of teachers, right?
Yeah.
And we know that not everybody who is a great artist makes a great teacher. In fact, some shouldn't teach at all. I mean, but others have.
Boy, ain't that the truth?
You know, in painting, I think of Hans Hoffman. I think of there's a great teacher. I mean, all the people he mentored. You know, other Jackson Pollock wouldn't have been such a great teacher, right? And others just eschew the whole thing together. What is it about the successful actor teacher that has to come together to be able to make that work? I mean, you're talking with usually younger people, you know, in your classes, thinking about Albion and all that, and you're inspiring them. But there's a certain synergy that I don't quite understand. That if you can get to the DNA of that for my listeners, I would love that, because from just consummate practice to being able to transmit it to others, voluntarily. You're the best of what you know. You're trying to give to others. What has to happen for that to work successfully?
That's a fantastic question, and we could take an hour talking about it, but I'll give you the quickest and most nutshell version that I can, which is that I think it comes down to being able to get inside of an actor's brain and unpack for them what they have to go through. Acting is very singular among the performing arts because it's such an internal art form, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. If you watch someone who's a concert violinist, it's a very external medium, and you see the hours of work, and it's a very physical exercise.
Yes.
Dance, even the visual arts, painting, sculpture. It's an external art form where it's something that the artist is creating outside of themselves. Acting is very internal. It completely takes place inside the actor's mind before you see anything manifest outside. And, obviously everybody's tired of hearing actors talk about motivation and their backstory and how do I feel. But that is the foundation. If you ever see good acting, that is a byproduct of someone who's done all of this internal work. And so that's what's so tricky and slippery about teaching acting, is that everybody obviously is a unique personality with a unique journey and backstory, and their brains work differently, and so it's very tricky to meet each actor where they are and figure out what unlocks something for one person may not do anything for the other. I always say it's like trying to pick 100 different safes every year. And I think that the key is to tell them, and this is simplifying, obviously, because it's a complicated thing. Like, you know, the great acting teacher Sandy Meiser always said it took 20 years to become an actor. But in a nutshell, it is telling them what to think about as they move through their story and what not to think about, because I think distraction is a thing that actors are always keeping at bay. How do you not think about the person coughing in the front row? How do you keep fresh when it's your 100th performance? So I think that the thing that makes a great acting teacher is somebody that is able to put into words what it feels like to go through a performance. And I think the thing that you pointed out about, you know, a lot of great performers and artists are not necessarily good teachers is probably because they're not able to put language to what it is that they do. And the best teachers that I've encountered were the people that could actually name it and unpack it for the student. And
what a challenge that is.
That's what I'm trying to do.
What a challenge that is. As you're speaking, I'm thinking of, I just reread Pierre Daye's Life of Picasso.
Wow.
It's a fabulous
Amazing.
one volume. I mean, it's a period thing, too. It's like the mid-'60s, Picasso was still living and all that. But what you said is exactly spot on, because everything in that book is the shining out. It's the epiphany of Picasso performing and everybody sees it, right? It is almost the exact opposite of what you're describing, of what the incubation that needs to take place with an actor. And to get it right, to feel that it's right, and then to be able to communicate that, not necessarily just to an audience, but to students. I think the actors aren't giving themselves enough credit, you know, for that. I mean, talk about, you know, multitasking. They always say multitasking never really works in management. I think it does in acting, but it's got to be particularly challenging. Well, can I follow it up with one other question before we get right to the play? Because
Sure.
there's so, Zach, and by the way, our wonderful guest, everybody, our wonderful first guest, Zach Fischer, starring in the upcoming Emma's Wedding, beginning on June 25th at the Purple Rose. You know, whenever you read about an actor and they say, oh, you know, they made their reputation in film, but they've decided to go back to the theater, right? They have the calling of the stage again. And it's kind of like, as we consume this, we kind of think, oh, it's like a, you know, they're here, there, and then they're doing something else. It's so completely different from their normal thing, or they feel the desire to get back to the theater. I think we make too much of the sort of like splitting of the brain, or, you know, of, you know, the talents of the actor. I think the film, the stage, whatever the medium happens to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that it's just acting. I think we think too much about the genre and not enough about the acting itself. Do you see where I'm going with that? It's not like, I don't think for the actor it's like all of a sudden a light goes off and say, I have to return to the stage. They're always on the stage, or they're always on set for a film. Am I communicating that relatively clearly?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's all the same practice. I think the thing that you're referring to about people wanting to return to the theater has to do more with longing for the connection with an audience. You remind me of this, I think it's Steve Martin, who has this quote. Your listeners can Google it. But I believe the quote is, when you make a movie, you have to wait a year to get a laugh. And, you know, that's the thing that you miss when you're working in film and TV is the audience. And that's the thing that I think gets actors, like you say, coming back to the theater again and again over their career, is that they want that immediate connection and response. And, there is nothing like it. Like, I've worked on film sets and had amazing experiences, but it is a director's medium, right? That you do X number of takes, and then the director chooses, after you are long gone from the set, what they want to include and what they want to cut. And then you see the final product, and it feels like a version of what you presented on the day, but it's already far away. There's like a year lapse sometimes. Whereas in theater and at the Purple Rose, the audience is 12 inches in front of you.
Right.
and if I make a choice, I have an immediate sense of whether or not it's working. There is a palpable energy in a theater that, if you stand in an empty theater versus a full theater, there's no comparison. There is a energy that is beyond words to describe to be in front of a live audience. And it is the thing that keeps us coming back, and the immediate back and forth and the response. And it's not just about getting laughs, although obviously Emma's Weddings is an amazing comedy. But even in the silence, you feel them. That's what's so amazing. I encourage everybody to go read what Nathan Lane is saying about the audiences that he has on Broadway right now for Death of a Salesman, where he talks about the energy and the silence at the end of the play. He's like 800 people just sitting in complete silence. Like, that is a huge, powerful energy. And I think that's the thing that everybody loves about the theater, and you just can't get that on a film set.
That's the gift, the flow back and forth from actor to audience, audience to actor. That the silence, as well as, the sounds, the noise, or whatever. But that silence, I know exactly what you mean. That's wonderful, Zach. Just let's get into the play, Emma's Weddings. Carrie Krim, acclaimed playwright, did this, directed by Kate Thompson. She's back again with the Purple Rose, with all her other productions. She did the first kind of like sort of take on it, what springs forth a couple of seasons ago, and this is a standalone, but you play Bob and others. So Jeff and the Purple Rose and everybody there, and Kate, they're making you work hard, obviously, because you're not just Bob, you're other roles too.
Yeah, they get 6 guys for the price of one.
Now, this thing, somebody gets the idea for these friends to go out, and they're going to go to a spa, right? Kind of like I remember in Amadeus. Go to the spa and get your health back, right? Well, they get the idea of going into the spa. Now, what exactly happens? What can you tell us, and what kind of a monkey wrench does Bob throw into this whole thing?
Yes. Well, I am deeply honored to be the single male in this show. Obviously, What Springs Forth was 4 women, and in this one, Carrie has decided to add a man, or 6 men, and I play all of them. Without giving any spoilers, yes, like you described, this is a standalone play, but it's the same characters, the same 3 core women from What Springs Forth. And this is Emma has announced that she's getting married for the 4th time. And so her besties, Sally Ben and Robin, are spiraling about it. And so they all rush in to try to figure out what is happening and why Emma's deciding to take the plunge for the 4th time. And I play, without giving anything away, a number of guys. I play, first of all, a New Age hippie psychedelic mushroom farmer that is Emma's business associate. I play kind of a 80s dimwit mullet dude. There's these wonderful devices that Carrie's written where we get to travel back and see snapshots of all of Emma's different relationships over the years, going back to the 80s and then the 90s and the aughts.
Oh, that's going to be great.
We even have a COVID chapter, and it's just fantastic. And I show up in all of these snapshots in different characters, playing all of these various guys through her history.
That is fantastic, and the Purple Rose does that beautifully. I just saw that with their just the play that just closed a couple of weeks ago, and there was so much going on. There was no way that there's no curtain to come down, and they just dim the lights, and you have even the actors moving things off, whatever. But they do it in such an integrated way. It's all part of the performance, actually.
Yeah, you'll see me move a lot of furniture in this play. I love it.
Well, so in other words, maybe there's a maturation process that's going to be taking place among these friends. Is that safe to say that that's going to be happening? I mean, they've got to be really good friends, because if they're standing by her for the fourth trip down the aisle, they're still there. They've got Emma's back, I guess, so to speak.
That's right.
And so they're out. Is it safe to say they're not in an urban environment where they end up? They're way out there.
I don't want to say yes or no. We are in many different locales. But I will say that Carrie has written such a beautiful piece about what friendship is and all of the complexities of it and how friendships change over the decades. And how you live so many different lives with your dear friends, and all the seasons of that, and the ups and downs, and all the different places you live. And I mean, what's incredible is that it's so complete in its portrait of friendship and aging together.
That's beautifully said, Zach. That's beautifully said. And I think that's a hallmark of Carrie's work generally, there at the Purple Rose and elsewhere, is that everything that boils down to what makes a relationship work. What's there at the foundation with all the, all the fluff and the flourish and everything, well, that's sort of like pushed aside finally. What actually remains, and I think that comes through in her productions. I can't wait to see it. It's got a great run, a great summer run, from June 25th to August 30th. And I know that there are some special things that are going on too, everybody. You want to go to Purple Rose Theater with an R-E ending, purplerosetheater.org. The box office, get the tickets, read about the different events, choose kind of what night you want to do it. But do it early, because the Purple Rose, they sell out so fast, and they sell out for weeks, so you got to move pretty quickly. Is that safe to say? I mean, talk about a packed house. That place does it.
It's safe to say, yeah. I'm already making sure that I get the people that I love that need to see the show to make sure they book tickets now.
It's great. Zach, I want to thank you again. In the way that you described the idea of teaching, to your students, and then bringing that here to Chelsea, and that legacy of Jeff Daniels and his inspiration to you, being able to come back. I've had sort of some minor things like that happen to me fairly recently, and you find yourself saying, it's such a big world, but things come back, and what you did a long time ago resonates, and these people who influenced you, and there you are dealing with it again. And that seems to be a part of your story that you said very eloquently.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Zach Fischer, everybody, who plays Bob and I guess 6 others in Emma's Wedding coming up. We are going to be seeing this play. It's going to be great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Zach,
Thanks,
very
Ed.
much.
Wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you. Great talking with you.